Hello, this is Strega. I thought I would address a question that I get probably the most out of any question that I've ever been asked. I get asked this question constantly, many times over, and I've probably answered it at least 300 times personally to each and every person who asks. So I thought I would help everyone who's probably not yet asked me this question and maybe thinking about it. And I thought I would have a video on this topic. Um, One of the most difficult to learn as far as ancient witchcraft practices, there are so many very even obscure practices that are there's countless books on it. There's all kinds of information on summoning demons and how to uh, call them up by name, how to bind them, all kinds of information on necromancy and how to make all sorts of poisons and brews, things to kill people, all kinds of disgusting things to do to enemies. The most horrific things that most of the typical non-witchcraft um, knowledge knowledgeable people would be horrified at. Yet there's lots of information on those kinds of things. But um, one of the most guarded secrets is what goes on within Italian families. There has always been this secret element when it comes down to the rumors of whether or not someone knows how to do what's called the Strega practices. And in old school Sicily especially was a very guarded place, being at the very bottom and the bottom part. It's that little after the boot of Italy. Sicily is that little tiny thing that it looks like the boot's kicking away. So there's one way in and one way out. There's like this one road that goes in and one road that goes out. So Sicily was one of the few places that the Italian practices were not watered down and kind of mixed with. There were all kinds of like invasions from all sorts of different places. I think the Germanic tribes, and over the centuries, I believe the Etruscans and all different people had been in and out. The Greeks. So many of their cultures, gods, pantheons, practices, and beliefs, as well as their myths and creation stories, all kind of got sort of intermingled with a lot of Italian folklore. If you were to travel around Italy, there's different. Each different region has different beliefs and practices. So I'm just speaking from my personal family. Is our tradition is from Sicily area, and so in Sicily, they were very prideful people. They were, they felt like they were not kind of interbred with the invading peoples. They really, I even in my generations and generations later, even my grandmother would always look as soon as the kids would be born and look at their eyes and their hair because they really prided themselves on the fact that they still had the blonde hair and blue eyes, and it still would run in our families. And sometimes, though, the kids would be born with like really white blonde hair, and it would turn brown. So later, like once they weren't children anymore, they would grow up and their hair would go brown. But my grandmother was very happy when my daughter was blonde hair, blue eyes all the way, and it did not change and it did not fall out. And my brown hair, brown eye son had really curly hair, which all the people would always comment on his hair, and my daughter would always say, "What about me?" Because she was really beautiful, but his curly hair was always what everyone wanted to talk about. Um, and then my older two children, they are like full on Italian. I took John to Italy when he was, I think, about 10 weeks old. He had just got over bacterial meningitis, too. He had it at about 6 weeks old. And I had already booked and paid for the trip to Italy for myself, my husband, and my infant son. And it was the perfect time because I was still nursing and I didn't need to bring anything. So there he was. I lugged him around Italy like a champ. Oh man, they love babies over there. But the point being, um, they are very, very leery of strangers. Not only strangers being people that are coming that are unknown, like, new people to the area, invading people, people moving or traveling, but also just anybody outside of your family. You're I mean, families were bigger back then too. Like, it was not uncommon to have 10 or 12 children for a woman. So there were brothers and sisters and cousins, and they all kind of like were all together. They all lived in the same neighborhood or maybe multiple levels of a home. So families were a big brood of people. So it was like your family was like your whole mafia right there for you. They were a big brood and they would have your back. So within the family is a unit. What goes on in the home is kept within the home. We don't talk about what problems or things happen between family. It's kept within the family. Sisters, aunts. It's okay to talk amongst the more distant relatives, aunts, uncles, whatever, cousins, but it stays within the family. When it goes beyond that, you're going to be in big trouble because you don't talk about what is in your home to neighbors or school friends or anything outside of the family. I was raised that way. And I know many families still really hold to the old school values like that. Um, you know, everybody is, our family is kind of like this generation is all born in America, so everyone's more Americanized. But I was raised with traditional values, and most of the people I know who have Italian families were also raised that way. They may not raise their own families like that, but when the older family members come over, they still will honor those same values while they are present. Like things like you never, as a girl, I would never be allowed to allow a boy in my bedroom. Oh my gosh, that would be like blasphemy. You'd be a tainted woman forever just for like letting a boy come into your bedroom, even if he's just a friend or something. Things like that. It's just not done. And things like go to someone's house, a boy's house, if their parents aren't there, and things, just old school kind of things. So the home and the family is very sacred. So that has to be protected above all else. And Italy is a very, very religious community. Almost everybody Catholic, and with Catholicism, Catholicism goes hand in hand with the Strega practice. Catholicism, although it believes in the Godhead, traditional Judeo-Christian, Jesus, God, um, the Holy Spirit, Jesus was born from the Virgin Mary, and all that. They also have all the saints, and a lot of the saints sort of mirror a lot of the pagan gods and were kind of intermingled so that they didn't really have to change their ways when they became converted, but they sort of just adopted it in a new way. So they took on the saints to um, meet each particular need where that need was. So instead of a particular god or goddess, they would go to a particular saint. Um, and it really sort of worked out. And they also have, the candles and the statues and all of that kind of stuff. So it was really easy to kind of fall into those practices for in that culture. And so it didn't really matter. The people who were less educated and more country folk, they really didn't have to change that much. They just kind of had to be obedient to the authorities and comply. But that being said, if you had a neighbor who maybe had a grudge, didn't like you, was jealous, there's a lot of that over with the Strega beliefs. There is a huge belief in what's called mal-okia, which is the okia is eyes and mal is bad. So it's like somebody is looking at you, they're just watching you, staring at you all the time. And it's not really because they're just so infatuated and they like just love looking at you. It's more of a covetous look, and it seems to come with compliments. Like the people who have absolutely, hands down, been the most, what's called, there's people called aggitatore, which are supposed to be people who just, when they just look at you or say anything nice, you're just screwed. You have the malakia, which comes with a variety of symptoms. It's like their eyes looking at you gives you like a curse. They have something just so in them that when they feel those envious, jealous feelings, or they are covetous about something someone else has, their eyes will just like give you a kind of curse. It's not like a big like curse, like, you know, raising a curse like in a spell or a circle type of thing. It's more like just their own energy curses people because of how intensely they feel these feelings of just evil feelings towards people that are their friends or their neighbors or people that they hang around, schoolmates, whatever. And these can be your best friends. Um, I've had very good friends that every time I would see them, I would get a violent headache, migraines, and it would always be my mom would do the malakia over me, and I would always, oh, it would go away. And as soon as someone says, "Who did you see?" They'll always ask the older Italians when they go to break it. They'll ask you, "Who did you see?" Because it's always like a really bad, so hard to get it off of you. Who was this? And as soon as they ask you, the person comes to your mind and you know exactly who it was. You just remember instantly, oh my gosh, it was so and so, or it was this lady who was staring at me at the grocery store. And it's like you instantly will remember who that person is, and it'll be the one who gave it to you. And there was a lady who was my grandmother's like best friend for like 50 years. And I remember since I was a little child, I instantly did not like or trust her. And she would be so nice, and all she would ever say is, "Oh, you're so beautiful," over and over. And then I grew up and I had my own children, and she would say, "Oh, they're so beautiful," and tell my grandmother all these compliments about how beautiful we all were, and we're a beautiful family, and oh, so blessed, and oh, we love you so much. And I would be so sick, like nothing, like no other person ever gave me the bad malakia like that lady did. And I was right about her in the end. She, betrayed my grandmother in her elder years badly. and had always been backstabbing my grandmother for years that she found out. And I was right as a little kid. I said, I don't like her. She's a mad, bad lady. And they would say, no, no, she's not. She's like a family. And I was right all along from a little kid. I knew I could look in someone's eyes and I knew those evil, like fake smiling, like I could see right through it from the time I was a child. And I never, there would be certain like dentists or doctors who I would like dread. I would know that as soon as I was like, because I was really smart as a little kid, and a lot of times they talk to you like you're an idiot when you're little, and they don't like when you are. Oh look, Faith's here, my daughter. Yay! I'm so happy Faith's here. I'm talking about how, like, when Faith was little, she was like one of the ones everybody would say how beautiful, and then oh, it would be like the malakia. She would get so deathly sick, fevers left and right, and it was always because people had to just like take pictures and say how beautiful, and oh, those beautiful comments. And I never believed it when I was young. When I was really young, a teenager, early 20s, my grandmother would say, "Oh no, please don't," because I would take the babies out. I didn't hide away or keep them from. But when you bring them out and everybody's looking at your beautiful babies and they're jealous because their babies are ugly or skinny or not thriving, or because they think you look too good after you know, all kinds of things people go through people's minds. They don't realize that, you know, I remember being young and having beautiful children, but I gave up a lot. I almost died um, from my appendix bursting, and it ruined my fertility. So I had no choice but to decide at 19, do I want kids or not? Because they were able to salvage one of my tubes. And so I postponed my career that I was on my way to psychology and going on to grad school, and I had this whole plan. And now I had to, you know, I had to really like strategically plan things. So I planned around my pregnancies and my nursing and all of that. I gave up a lot. But see, when people see something, they covet it with their eyes. And that is this whole idea with Malakia. And they don't even have to intend what they're doing, like witchcraft that people say. It's a different thing to get something like that than the practice. The practice of Strega that we're talking about being passed on ancestral lines is a specific, it's specific incantations, it's specific ways of curing illnesses, of eliminating problems that are biological in nature. Like you can be physically sick, like vomiting and a fever and a headache. And for all intents and purposes, it will just appear like a medical illness. But in Italy, it was rampant that people who knew how to cause those illnesses were the because there's like good and bad, and it's not the craft that's good or bad, it's the person. So just like there's good priests who are truly believing and confessing, they can have people go and confess their sins while others are molesting little boys. You know, it's the person, it's not the religion or the practice. So, that being said, um, within families, like some people have different gifts. Like some are very, very gifted when it comes to curing all kinds of ailments of the body. They know how to use all sorts of medicinal plants and tinctures, and these go for all of the ancient nature-based religious practices of any kind that are they're all lumped in one sum of like witchcraft, but they're all basically, they just boil down to people being in tuned with their environment, in tuned with what's our natural connection to all things. The planets, the the planet itself, and all of the planets, and the sun and the moon and everything is all revolving around one another because of how their uh, gravity gravity pulls and keeps everything moving that way. If one thing gets out of alignment, it disrupts the rest. So just like a ripple in a pond, we're all connected. Just because we don't understand how that connection, many ripples away, is going to affect, some leaf in the middle of the water, it doesn't mean that we didn't cause that leaf to move when we threw some rock on the other side of the lake. That ripple eventually got to the leaf, way in the middle that we just weren't even aware we were affecting. Maybe when we threw that stone into the water, we knocked some turtle in the head and we never knew. But all these things are connected. Those of us who are very spiritually oriented, especially, some of us, like, I'm very, very sensitive to any changes in the Earth's, like, magnetism. I remember saying for like a month before I don't know if you guys know, but Massachusetts was hit with an earthquake, and for like a month I kept saying, I think there's going to be an earthquake or something. I kept feeling that awful feeling, like I knew something was wrong, like in the earth. I could feel it. I kept waking up at like weird times. I could sense the birds were also feeling that. The animals were being weird, and I remember being a little kid, and the same thing happened, and there was like a little earthquake then as well, and I felt something off. Just my because we are in our sweet sleeping waking cycle. There's particular chemicals, especially like oxytocin, which is released in childbirth. It helps with the bonding. When the baby comes out and the mother and child bond, oxytocin is what secures that bond, and it keeps the mother. People wonder, oh, you're going to sleep in the bed with the baby. And I always co slept with my children. I nursed them on demand, and I never, ever for a second would have instantly, the second they made a peep or move, I knew it's in you. The hormones are just raging. Every movement. That baby was inside of your body. It's part of your body, and their cycles and movements are aligned to your own. It's a bond. It's like a rhythm that's continuing after the baby comes out, and it continues in cycling as the baby starts to be aware and move away from you. Those cycles and connection is still there. It has to, like, slowly be safe enough to move away. Oh, yes, you guys want to see Tycho? Puppies. Here's the puppy. Hi, Tycho. He's all like cuddled up. He takes over my daughter's bed when she is either out of the room or the house, especially if she's gone for like the weekend. He just takes over her entire bed and just like he sleeps with his head on the pillow and everything. It's so cute. He literally lays with his head on the pillow and everything. It's so freaking cute. Yeah, Tycho, I'm talking about you. It's so adorable. And he puts his little hands, like, it's like he's a person, and he just takes over the bed and he wants it all to himself, and he puts his head on the pillow and everything. It's so cute. It's really, really awesome. So, yeah, and I kind of like blew it all off, and I didn't believe in it until it really started to like be very obvious and very apparent. And after I had my second child, and I really was doing very well. I had a business. I was doing well in college. I was graduating top of my class. I had like everything on the outside that people would see. That then I really saw some stuff that I really started to know that there was much more to spiritual stuff than I had believed. I was Miss Science. Like I was all about science and the brain and the body, but it's all those things. Our body is also connected to our spirit and our mind and our emotions, and it all plays into a bigger picture. It has to do with the cosmos and magnetism, and it's just because it's something that we call magic or uh, the unseen realm. It's still science. It's just something that we don't understand. It's beyond our grasp, but it operates by specific laws. And ancients very well understood how those laws worked, much better than we do. They were able to harness them, like using all kinds of much more advanced techniques than us. Like in Egypt, there's all kinds of tablets and books depicting the way they would use rods to heal all kinds of things in the body. They performed plastic surgeries. There were many people that had issues with their nose being deformed, and they would replace it, do like a type of rhinoplasty, and give them like a false nose. Yeah, there was a lot of disfiguring kind of diseases, like types of leprosy type of infections that they had no way to treat other than to, kind of try to minimize whatever happened as a result, make the people feel better and more comfortable. So, yeah, they did all kinds of like much more advanced things than people were in the beginning willing to realize until they really started to learn how to decipher the tablets and learn uh, from the, what do you call it, the tablet, the what do you call it, the rock, that, I forget what you call that big tablet that translates all the languages or whatever. But without that, we wouldn't know any of it. But it was able to decipher all the languages, and now we know how to read the Sumerian tablets and the Babylonian texts, and the stuff in those texts is insane. The details and the things that they describe in such detail are just wow. There's a lot of things that now that we are able to access through the internet and share information with academics all over the world and collaborate. It's like really the learning and putting it all together is really happening at a very fast rate. It's really cool. The biology of different cultures and peoples is now starting to connect. The fact that the people who were actually like the earliest Egyptians had red hair and green eyes, and then they somehow left Egypt and went to Ireland because they also were said to be from some rumor of one of the first leaders or princesses in Ireland. There's a story of an Egyptian woman or an Egyptian princess who came and she became one of the first leaders in Ireland, I guess. How would they go all the way from Egypt to Ireland? I don't know, but there's a lot of really amazing things that are now being looked at through anthropology and archaeology, which is really cool. And I myself have uncovered stuff that I never in a million years thought or intended to be uncovering. But, I'm just curious and interested in nature and animals and their habitats and things like that. So I'm investigating all sorts of trees and plants and things in the ground. Uh, I always look for like different minerals and crystals and things. I found so many semi precious crystals because of the lake being so toxic for so long and nobody going in it. I found like I've uncovered a lot of really cool things, like a lot of I believe I even have some garnets that if I polish them up, they would be jewelry grade. Lots of tiger's eye, and I even found some small pieces of little like gold pieces, little gold nugget things. Pretty cool. But yeah. So in searching for those things, I found Native American artifacts, which led to more things. If you really know what you're looking at and you start investigating, once you start seeing it, you see it everywhere, and it becomes like I learned about Native American burial grounds when I was in Florida working on Cypress Island in Kissimmee, and there were many tribes in that part of Florida, and I guess they really held out on the islands over there, and that was like where they were like holding out. And the burial grounds are still there, very visible. And the Native American man, he was the only one who lived on the island with his wife. He taught me how to identify and see those things, and how usually they look like a trash heap because that's the way America kind of treated it, like a big dump. They didn't want that as part. It's kind of like cover up. They didn't want to like the bad press of what it really happened when they came, and all the Native Americans first they all got sick and died from smallpox. Then first they were being all nice and friendly, and then they find out, hey, they're sending us to like camps and stuff. What's going on? So unpleasant history gets eradicated, and written over. But I think now people are starting to reclaim their heritage, the true heritage. Native American tribes everywhere are powwowing to get back their languages and their practices, their dances and their songs and all, especially the language. That's like really important. And I'm really glad to see they're really educating the young kids now. The few people who still can speak and write the languages are trying to rekindle that. And it's important. And so, that being said, is why reclaiming a heritage that is part of it's really important to feel connected. I started off by feeling connected to nature from a very early age. Since I was a child, the first like memories in my crib and in my car seat, I was trying to escape to get to like, I just wanted animals and like to be like around them and touch them and befriend them because they made sense. Um, yeah, I really missed doing this kind of stuff. This is what I've been called to do like forever. Since I was a little kid, all I ever wanted to do was help like nature and people. And I couldn't always quite know exactly how that would look. I thought I'd be a doctor. I always sought towards those things of knowing everything about the world, the body, nature of animals, people, how it all connected, understanding it, how we grow, how we develop, how do we become who we are, why are some people like mean and horrible and crazy and other people aren't. Some people are really nice and normal and great. And it was so awesome. Oh, oh, it's Willow. Hey. I wicked want to come to where you live, Willow. You live up in Victoria, right? Like Victoria, BC, up in Canada. Oh my gosh, like it's so beautiful there. Yeah, oh my God. I've been really investigating into like way up north, like Canada, where it's really cold. And I guess my biology is I'm from way up in Scandinavian land, um, like the Saint Joseph's land they call it. And like I'm descended from like like the hardcore Vikings, like way up there in like Iceland and stuff. So it's really weird, but it explains a lot about like why I was always drawn to runes, and I always like in my mind I made up this thing like I was from like I believed my family was like the wolves, and I like, would go to sleep saying my real family is the wolves in the forest. And but all these weird connections now make a lot of sense why I would like as a child I'd go climb up into trees and like I mean I was a weird kid, but I mean considering if I was like a Viking warrior lady and whatever, that wouldn't be so weird. That would be like what I was training to do. And I kind of always did that. I was like making potions when I was a little. I would go out all summer and collect little weeds and bugs and things, and I'd make potions. Like, but how did I don't know how I knew that that's what I was doing. Oh, West Coast. Oh, it's warmer there, huh? Oh, that's good. Wow. Yeah, I know. Don't they have like 7 feet of snow on the side of the road or something? I don't. I think it's cold here in the winter when it's like 0. In fact, I wanted to like test my survival skills, and I slept outside with nothing but a fur. Like I made a hammock and I hung it from 2 trees, and I slept with just my fur coat wrapped around me, and I lasted the night. I lasted until the morning, but it was really cold. Without the fur, I would have died for sure, but fur is very, very warm. I still do have fur, yes, but I did not get it myself. It was inherited, thankfully. Rainforest. Yes, I grew up here. I live in the east coast of Massachusetts, like about 20 minutes from Salem, 20 minutes south of Salem, and I live in a town. It's called Wakefield, and we have a huge lake in the middle of our town. And our lake was one of the lakes that supplied the ice, and that's how our town like made its like way in the world, and got like really famous for the lake because in the winter we would sell the ice, I guess, and send it to we supplied the Titanic with the ice, and other countries, and like all the rich people in Saudi Arabia got our ice. Apparently, we had these like block houses for ice, and yeah, so we have some of the oldest cemeteries, just as old as the ones in Salem. And one of the witches in Wakefield, but she was a real witch. She wasn't prosecuted or hung, or they would not make her guilty because she was an actual witch, but she was sent to the trials. I believe her name was Mary something, but nobody would say anything against her, so she was sent free. But yeah, she was one of the ones accused, and I think some of the people involved in the trials were actually from our town, because the original colonies. This was one of the places. It was back then when they colonized. It was called South Reading, but eventually, when they finally actually purchased for 7 pounds of silver, they purchased the town from the last living relative of the last chief of the natives who lived here. They purchased the land, and it was changed to the name to Wakefield, and the lake was named Quanapawit after that family. So yeah, and it's really sad because just that one decade of the 80s ruined the entire lake, which used to have a dam, and the Saugus River would connect. So the salmon would come up the river and come back to the lake to lay their eggs every year. And it would connect all the way. It would go through Saugus, North Reading. You could actually, I believe, eventually it would connect to the ocean, but they had to close the dam and shut the river down, which meant that all the wetlands behind my house that I grew up all my life waiting for the spring so I could catch frogs and turtles and every year, and dragonflies. I loved all the things that just life that came from the water and in the pond. The water would come in the spring, and all the life would start, and I loved it. The raccoons would catch the little tadpoles and things, and I just loved that all. And then the 80s, they started dumping in the water, and they had to close down the beaches. They had to stop the swimming. They had to stop the boating. All the weeds that grew, it just ruined the entire ecosystem. Ruined. They used to have boating for years, centuries. There's I have all the history books with the photos. Oh, and it just never changed. Like decades, hundreds of years, the same activities. The boats just changed a little. They had dances on the little mini yacht place. They would have like for 5 cents, you got a ticket to go dancing, and it was amazing. And in that one decade, they ruined it. The sediment is still so toxic. You're not supposed to go in the water at all. Um, Okay. Oh, thank you for coming. I'm so glad to hear. I haven't seen anybody or talked to anybody. Thank you for coming on my live stream. I didn't know if anybody would watch, but I've heard these different questions and connecting to our heritage, like our biology, our DNA. It makes things make sense of who we are, and within families, there's different stories, but they are all, I mean, when you look across religions and cultures, they're similar. They're just like little different. Like everywhere, there's stories of the giant peoples and the flood and the elves and, different things that they say about them. Like, the stories of who the elves are is very, very varied depending where you go and what culture. Like sometimes they're depicted all as like kind of a nuisance and just stay away, don't mess with them. And other cultures they're seen as being both benevolent and guardians of us. And there's good ones and bad ones, dark ones and light ones. And there's the Norse really have a very, very accurate, um, huge chronology, like a whole book detailing many uh, details about who and what kinds of elves and what their purposes and categories are, much more than any other. Like even Ireland and Scotland have nothing compared to the Norse. What's it called? Like it's a something. It's some kind of saga book. It's like one big giant compiled. Um, it's like it's like the Edna. It's a Norse name. I can't remember right now, but I should do a video on that. That's like a whole topic in of itself. But yeah, and a lot of what cultures used to say about the Norse people up in Dutchland, Iceland, and the Viking peoples being barbarians. That's all like really different when you study the culture. They actually grew their long hair and their beards and everything like that because it was like a sign of their vows. They actually stayed celibate to keep their testosterone and their strength inside, and they would go off and do the wars and try to make their way in the world, and then in their mid 20s they would find a woman, and they stayed completely faithful. They loved their women, and they took their vows like very, very sacred. When they vowed something, it was like, that's it, you keep your vow like to death. It's no joke. So when the Romans and the English saw them and called them barbarians, heathens, and all that, they were saying these same thing about them, saying, look at them drinking and frolicking with all these women. They were disgusted by what they were seeing, the way they would eat, and like and the way the women were, like they thought it was disgusting. Um, so they took family and their who they were. It was like their clan was everything. Who they vowed to, their kin was like sacred. And so that's like the same thing with this whole passing traditions on and keeping vows to keep it within the family. Because I remember like some people in the family would like laugh about it, like because the older aunts and everything, they would like get in secret when they were doing some kind of thing that you knew had to do with the witchcraft. And some girls really wanted to learn, and they were very serious. So they had to get away from the other cousins that are laughing or making fun of it, or, because you had to take it seriously or they weren't going to teach you. It had to be sacred, it had to be serious, it had to be something that it was not for a joke. It was a serious thing, and it was a serious matter because, um, something really bad could happen if you dishonor it. And they really took that seriously, and they would say that if you ever tell any of what you learn, and this is why this whole you can't learn certain things unless somebody will be willing to teach it to you. And those oaths are very sacred because if you were to reveal the particular past like ritual details or words, you lose the power and it will never work for you again. You'll lose all your skill. It will be gone. It's like your blessing is gone. And so no one will betray that. And it doesn't mean that you can't learn from another family member. Like, they say a mother has to pass it to their daughter or a grandmother to her granddaughter and that kind of thing. But it allows for stepchildren, adopted children, somebody whose parents died, who's raised by an aunt. I mean, it just basically means it has to be within the bounds of a household, bound within family. It has to be like trust there. Nobody is going to betray their family and have their family accused of something, because for one person to reveal those secrets to somebody, that could mean their family gets hauled off and put in prison or excommunicated. They would be considered like, in those really highly religious communities, the accusation of somebody being like evil or a against the church or something is a serious accusation, and everybody will just you're that's it. No one will speak to you. You're cut off. No one will look at you, talk to you, say hello to you. You're done. You're blacklisted. um it's just it's like that. And in families, like, they really hold grudges in Italy. Italian people hold grudges like nobody's business. They keep those grudges past death. They'll put stuff in their will just to fuck people after death so that they know, haha, I got the last fuck you. It's just really, really hardcore. So, it's no joke. So if, a girl at 13, 14 is taught, and then she secretly, she feels cool and she tells her friend at school and they tell somebody, that could be at the end of it for her whole family. So that's why they really make sure you're ready and you really want to learn, and there has to be a maturity about it. Um, I really wasn't into wanting to learn until my mid 20s, I think. But a lot of the really awesome information has been kind of um, lost. Like, I know my grandmother's father was like renowned. He was like gifted, like seriously gifted as a healer. Like, my grandmother taught me a lot of what she remembers and knew. Some of the secrets, like, really have saved me. Like, seriously, like, wow. Like, she had some like biology secrets to, like, if you're really sick and you just have to get better immediately, like, do this. And it's like, whoa, holy crap, you're like cured instantly. Like, it's amazing. But yeah, some people just know. Um, and so, with that being said, it's not impossible to learn if you can get close enough within a family. Most people are not going to really trust somebody wanting to come and learn. If you go into Italy and try to find somebody, you can find the basic information that you could find anywhere in a book. No one is going to give you the secret stuff. I'm sorry, but they're just not. So, when I needed to learn some stuff that was like from older generations, that I wanted to kind of connect some dots in the family itself, I needed to find out some gaps in our family history. There was no one to really ask to verify what I already kind of had discovered, but I couldn't ask somebody if I had discovered the right thing or not. So I had to really delve and do some deep shadow work, which requires self work into your own stuff. It tests you. You have to face your own demons and shadows and issues before you will be able to um, gain entry to the realms that you're trying to communicate with. But eventually you gain trust, and it's a relationship like any other. Just like you build relationships with spirits and animals and whoever your allies are, it's the same with our ancestors. The older ones who don't know us yet, we're the younger generation. They're leery of us. So we have to really prove our way. it's good that I have my allies. My grandparents are already gone over, so they're like, yeah, that's my granddaughter. She's cool. She's good. But still, you have to really prove yourself. And I eventually did see my relatives that I had never met, and I didn't know for sure, but I suspected, and I asked my mom, described who I saw in a dream, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, oh," and I had known that. Oh my God, that's so amazing! I saw my mother's grandmother, and it was just really cool. And also, not only that, I saw her grandmother because I had to get pretty far back to find out some stuff I needed to know. But it was pretty amazing when they came to me in the dream and they shared information, and it continues now. So it's really amazing, and it's much easier now. Once you establish those connections and they flow like that, you just have to know how to tap into them because they're in us. Like we have connections through our DNA and our spirit and our ties to who we are and our land. And um, I've been in this town for several generations, and I've uh, I've walked around this lake in my town my whole entire life a million times over. I can't even imagine how many times I've gone around it. I used to jog around it twice every single day for years with my kids being pushed in the strollers. It's sacred. It's just a sacred place. And I feel that connection with the natives that were here, which is why I've been doing what I've been doing the last couple of years off YouTube. A lot of people have issue with the fact that our school mascot is the Wakefield Warriors and they want to get rid of it. Like oh no, it's offensive. It's not offensive. It's honoring our town. Our town was literally here only because hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years the natives had cultivated this place. Like they already had established, um, they had homes all over the lake. It wasn't like nomads. They had those rectangular wigwam type homes. There's evidence everywhere of the little fire pits where they had them inside of the home, and they had a chimney on top. The Crystal Lake area was sacred to them. It was sacred water, and as soon as the colonial people came, of course, they immediately took it away from them and wanted to drink it because it was so clear and delicious water, so clear and fresh and good. So that's our drinking water in Wakefield. We have our own reservoir, which was their sacred spring, their sacred place, like sacred waters, where they went for like sacred ceremonies and things. And when you go there and look at the stones, like it's just wow. But no one even sees it. It's like people just go there and throw their trash. It sickens me. But my eye is just sees it everywhere now. The more I awaken to that and that connection, they now call to me. Like there's this whole place that I found, and it's every time I walk down the street, I am literally physically overcome every time at the same spot. I just physically, something horrific, and just, it's like this place is so profound. It's like powerful. It's where many, many, many generations of burials are, but it's hidden, like, and then there's a house on top and like a bunch of other stuff, and it's like they on purpose just like covered over it. But I feel it, like, and then when I go over near where I feel it, you push the trees away a little bit. It's horrifying, and like to realize when you see how precious these people brought their like little decorated, perfectly little made things with little carved uh, prayers and things like that, and they would leave them there on this huge mound thing. I mean, it's powerful, but it's built upon these other huge boulders where inside there's like little springs that come out of the rocks. I mean, I've always been connected to my town, and I remember the last little teepee place that sold Native American stuff was on my street, and they finally tore it down and built the gingerbread house, this big like donut gingerbread selling place. Like, it was just really sad to me because as a kid I was fascinated by the Indian man who ran it, because he would dress like in full Indian garb, and I just loved that. I loved everything nature. I wished so bad I could go live out in the woods. I spent every waking moment I could out there. That was home to me. That was my safe place. The animals welcomed me and did not like. Usually animals would be like, "Oh, intruder." No, I was like one of the woods. Okay, like accepted. I'm part of the woods. Like, and they wouldn't make any noise like for me. But and I remember when I left Wakefield for a couple years and returned, I'll never forget hearing an owl, and I hooed because my grandfather and I would go owling. He taught me how to hoo, and they would hoo back. But they live a long time. And I heard one, and I hooed, and it recognized me, and it got so happy. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then it called other ones, and they all came and welcomed me back. It was the most powerfully moving thing. Like, they knew I was gone, and they realized, and they were worried, like, where'd she go? She hasn't come back. Like, they were like, thought I was dead. And when they all came, like, they called to other ones, and they called them, and they all came, and they all were hooing, like, hello to me. It was like, and I'm hooing to them, and they're like, it was like a whole celebration. It's the coolest thing I've ever ever experienced in my life. Like, these owls not only remembered me at all, they had noticed I disappeared, were concerned and like happy that I returned. Like I mean, we don't think of it like that, but I mean, for years I grew up, and the owls would definitely get involved when like predators were in the woods. I remember when things would go down, there would be like an animal trying to kill stuff, and the blue jays and the crows and the owls would like go nuts. Or if a storm was coming, I always knew like what was happening where when I was out in the woods as a little kid. They protected me. They would like call out, oh, bad stuff over there. I go. I mean, it was awesome. I felt so safe, always like just protected. Like, like I remember the first movie I saw was Bambi, and I felt like I was that. Like, it was so sad. I cried my head off. Like, why did they take me to see this sad, horrible movie? But I get it. Like, that stag, I always felt like he was watching over me from afar. I always like felt that. Like, my people, they're out there in the woods. Like, those are my peeps. It's so weird, but I really, really thought that. I would imagine that every night going to bed as a little kid. And I remember like my strategic escapes from my crib as a little baby. Like, I would wait until everyone was sleeping or busy, and I was like, I would rock my crib all the way until it got to the wall, and then I'd haul myself like I like catapulted out of the crib somehow. My grandmother caught me on video and on camera, like pictures of me doing this stuff though, because no one could figure out how I was always escaping all the time. Well, my grandmother caught me, and I was doing some acrobatic, crazy stuff as a baby, like I was doing full splits with one leg on one side of the crib and another leg on the other side, and I had like a fur hat. I mean, talk about Viking crazy warrior bitch stuff. And I was like one or two at the most, probably more like one. And I was like secretly pretending I was sleeping and getting everybody to go away. And then I would like do all these like crazy moves, like an acrobat, and escape and go like do stuff around. And they couldn't understand it. Like, my grandmother's like, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Oh, I could do a lot of weird stuff. And then my grandfather knew he better educate me, and he taught me how to navigate through the forests and how to uh, get through and where it's too marshy and wet because it was wetlands. So I knew how to get through all the seasons. I knew how to walk, make sure the ice wasn't gonna be too deep or it wasn't hard enough. I knew how to do all of that. I saved my sister when she fell in. I knew how to grab onto the certain, I would check to make sure it would hold my weight, and I'd like swing like Tarzan over areas that were too deep and wet. It's like a maniac like that. So my grandfather taught me all those skills that he had from his Russian heritage of like deep, like up in the, you know, like way up in the tundra regions of northern Russia, Siberia area. And he taught me every plant, every bird, every bug, every thing that would sprout every season. I knew how to identify them. I knew how to call each bird and it would answer me back. I knew the fish, and when each fish would come and lay their eggs on the edge of the lake. I mean, I knew everything, and he taught me how to be silent in the woods because he knew I wanted to learn and be close to the animals, and so he taught me how to identify like the sounds and the movements and how to show each species that I was not a threat, how to be quiet and like, and I've never ever had any fear. I've always been able to, like communicate with body language and my energy. With wild animals, I know people say it's really dangerous and everything. Everyone always used to give me crap about it, but it was like a fear. It's like a bond like nothing else. Like as a child, animals were the only thing. I didn't connect with people ever, hardly. Um, really, just my grandparents. They were the only ones I really trusted, and so animals I could trust. Like they didn't fake like people. They were trustworthy, and that bond, man, that was really powerful. Especially when I bonded with a cat who had never met a person like me. It was very confused, and it had never been pet or loved by a person, and I was desperate to like want to love this cat, and it scratched me, but I didn't want anyone to see because I was afraid if they found out it scratched me, then we couldn't go back and see him every day. So I hid and cried and behind a bush, and the cat realized like, what the hell? I didn't really hurt her. Why is she crying? I was crying because like I was so sad, like, and I didn't want like to get the cat in trouble or. And the cat came over and he's watching me like, what the hell? And then he came over and like apologized. He like realized she's like sad. And then he like came over and he rubbed me and like it was like he was saying sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, and then we were friends from then on, and like I was the only real human friend I guess this cat had, and he was kind of confused because I guess he never met a human like who was not mean or cruel to cats, and it was cool. It was like we both kind of connected, and it's cool. Like you can really, when you connect with an animal in that way and you teach it something and you learn from each other, it's amazing. And animals are like that, Animals can sacrifice their instinct and take an orphaned baby that it should be eating and nurse it. And we had a cat and a bunny that were like in love. And I forget who the cat, I believe, nursed from the bunny for a while. And then he just loved that bunny like it was his mom or something. It was so cool. Faith, do you remember that? If the bunny nursed the cat or how that went? I think it was the bunny. The bunny had had babies and the cat was really young and it had just left its mother, and so Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the cat. Oh my God, that cat. It must have nursed from like the rabbit and the dog because we had puppies. It was just weird. All our little loving animals were so sweet. Yeah. And then the cat was in love with the bunny. Like it was his like love of his life. And then we had this broody little chicken. Oh my gosh, she wanted to have her little eggs hatch so badly. And finally, when the roosters had to leave, thankfully one had impregnated an egg before it left. But it was really sad because, yeah, the dog ended up killing it. But she at least got to hatch it and have her pride and joy in her day to say, look at our little baby. It was so cool. So, that being said, there is a lot to be learned when trying to connect and learn the secrets from your heritage. There's ways to open those doorways. You can do things like the journey betwixt and between the worlds. There's all kinds of stuff like that. I probably should get into all that in a different video because that's a whole topic. It's very like, but if you're gonna delve into like the journeys between, you have to really be adept and have your guardians and protectors and things, and make sure you're doing regular cleansing and clearing and all that, because that stuff can be really dangerous. I brought something home once, and you know, and it was my own fault because I didn't follow my own advice. I felt like somehow I was being like told, "Oh, it's okay, it's cool," but man, I had to like, oh, I had to get rid of it. I brought something uh, unintentionally into my home, and I had to like rectify the whole thing and go back and like fix it all and make amends and stuff. So even it doesn't matter how many years like you learn and you can still make those errors in judgment, and you got to know how to get rid of it really fast. And that's important because that shit, when it goes on too long, it can affect people. It can affect like, you don't want to let that go on too long. And another thing I've been doing recently that I hadn't was I've been learning. I kept craving like I all the time going outside and just wanting to like play in the dirt and the rocks, and like I guess there's a need. Uh-oh. A need that we have to ground. Like, you know how you ground an electrical wire before you can, like, connect it to the house or whatever? We need to ground because we're connected to all this, like, Wi Fi, and all these energies are going right through our bodies all day long. Like, the Wi Fi signals go through the walls and through us and through the airwaves. And I was like, I'm like, do I really? And I started to try to do it. You can do it by just going out in the sunlight and putting your bare feet on the grass, the ground, the actual earth, and it's unbelievable. You can also do it with crystals. The first night I did it with crystals. You can use, I believe magnets can also work, and copper. But I started doing the grounding, and your body immediately feels 1,000 times better. The tension starts to go away, and any swelling you have anywhere in your body. I have like arthritis. I have degenerative disc disease, and I have an injury in my knee. And anything that can affect and make swelling anywhere in your body, the grounding immediately makes it impossible. It does something, and it, like the positive and negative ions. I don't know that much about electricity and all that. I'm into like biology. I know I should know all that, but I know they have to cancel each other out. And when there's too much of like the the stuff from like having your screen all day, that's why I couldn't sleep at all. I couldn't sleep whatsoever. And as soon as I started doing the grounding, it was like night and day. And yeah, you start to really connect again normally, like to the light and day and night. and you readjust and your body goes back to normal. But otherwise, it's like your your nervous system is really messed up, and it shouldn't go on too long like that. Um, but now I have to cleanse all my crystals because I didn't realize how toxic I really actually was. I was holding a lot in my body. And so now my body is doing all kinds of like new things that it hadn't done normally. Like I'm starting to have regular menstrual cycles again. Like normal, like as if when I was young. I haven't, I've been like an old lady for a while, like where just my whole body feels like a 90-year-old woman. Granted, I've been through like a lot of trauma, especially in the last few years, but it shouldn't be the case. I should be getting better and healing now that it's a peaceful, free life now, like freedom, and my children are here, and I'm so proud of them. They're doing online school and all these crazy things that I don't know if I could have handled this day and age. I give the kids now like so much credit. Like their whole life is online. You can't escape from your peers. People that are bullied are bullied like 24/7. They have cell phones following them around. It's just like living in a state of constant anxiety, having to worry about everything. Like I watch them. I watch my daughter like getting ready for things, and it's like people are just ready to judge every word you say, everything you do, everything you wear. Like if you're not being correct in one area, or all these crazy judgments. But we need to like reconnect with the the real stuff, the ground, the earth, who we are, our heritage. Like that stuff is in us, and it's now is the time where the few people who are really connected and really do want that, are doing it like in huge, huge leaps and bounds. I can't even believe the people that are like connecting to spiritual stuff. It's blowing my mind. Like these science people are trying to like escape censorship and do like podcasts and like try to just get this information that they have out into the world about truth, like spiritual truth. And like they're trying to educate the world about what's really going on under the like mask of bad stuff, and it's weird to see just who the people are like kind of on our side who want to save the world and save the good ancient stuff. Like they want to save the animals and the trees and the real truth and what's really important. And it's weird because they're like these mega science genius guys, but like it's amazing to hear what they're talking about. I'm like, whoa, you guys are like these science, mathematic, quantum physics guys, and they're talking about like spiritual stuff that like witches are all into. It's bizarre. Like the way they're talking about the stars and the cosmos, and they're connecting it with like their science. And I actually started studying some math because it started to really connect with how math and the shapes and sound is all the same thing. When they play math and make it harmonize, it's the most beautiful sound ever. It's like heaven. And that's what it sounds like, those numbers. Those numbers are how they made the notes that we read to play music. And that is really amazing. That is very cool. And it's all like mathematics is the same language as shape. It's just displayed in a different way. Music is also the same. And the way life grows is the same thing. And when you realize that, and that those numbers or how shape goes and how we grow and how everything fits together. The whole sphere of the planets and all of it. It's like it blows your mind because it makes this beautiful pattern in this map that like it seems all chaotic when you think about it and you don't know how it's like how it makes sense. But when you look at it from these genius guys, how they put it out and they explain it to you really simple, it's it's really beautiful and it's amazing. Makes me want to get my left brain a little bit more active in there because I'm all emotion and right brain, all woman, hidden moon energy. But I really realized the importance of knowing facts and logic and math and government and history. Like I used to not want to care about that, but it's very, very important to know because if you don't know, how are you going to know when people are lying or not lying? You have to know the truth in order to know how to tell when it's not true. Like you have to know how to weigh and discern things being true or not. And the only way to do that is if you're educated enough to figure stuff out and investigate it yourself somehow, scientifically, logically. Because the answers, like to things, can be found. And yeah, and I mean, we think we don't have the power to find answers to big questions, but sometimes if no one else thinks they're smart enough or can find them and know someone else will do it, like you're the only one who is gonna do it. So it's better you doing it than nobody ever does it, because everybody just shirks the responsibility off on someone else. Someone else will do it. I think that's like how men think the bathrooms clean themselves. They think the little fairies come in and just like replace everything and clean it up when they're sleeping. Replace the toilet paper. Ever notice like you always go in the bathroom and the toilet paper roll is always empty? It's kind of weird. Anyway, so you can uncover the secrets. You just may have to dig into the deeper mysteries of your ancestors that have passed, but they can come to you through dreams, through meditation, through divination. There's all sorts of ways. You can tarot, you can crystal, scry. There's all sorts of methods. If you're good at pendulum, I have a really good one that works well for me finally because I had a hard time with pendulum use. And I remember I could feel spirits present, but now I can. I'm really. It took a while. It took years, but I see them and talk to them and can hear and see. And sometimes more than others, though. It depends. There's certain times when, like, they're very, 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 like, it drives me almost crazy, like too much. But yeah. So, but gotta ground it. Oh, hey, Joyce. I can't believe I've been on this live stream for so long, just on this like topic, going off on a rant. But I haven't made any videos in so long, and I don't know. I don't know how the live thing, if it's any different than making and uploading videos. But I happen to have this Chromebook thing that my children use for their online school stuff. So thought I'd try it because I couldn't do it for some reason before when I tried doing it on my phone and stuff. And I'm like usually up at night really late when they're doing podcasts. There's a lot of really cool if you guys like there's not new movies and new TV shows and things like that. So I've been trying to find like interesting podcasts and things, and there's some really great late night ones. And like a lot of topics, like the higher side chats is a really good one. And oh, what else? I forget the names of all of them, but there's a bunch of really, really good ones. They're all they're on. If you look at my YouTube page, I'm sure if you look at my subscriptions, they're on there. But they're all like about these esoteric, hidden things, like ancient mysteries and things like that. Oh, one of my very favorite ones, though, they actually just stopped doing the YouTube podcasts. I was so bummed out. It was on late night from like 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. and I loved it. And there was like a bunch of witches who all, there's like four of them that all co hosted. It was awesome. I never chatted on there. I don't even think they knew I was watching, but I watched it like every night for a long time. Oh, how do I make a podcast, Faith? I don't even know how to do that. It's just like with, because they always have like microphones and stuff like that. Is that just like a regular, like I would do a regular live stream? Is that all it is? Like every night at a certain time? Because yeah, apparently YouTube contacted me and I hadn't made videos in like a while and my subscriber number went down like by like 200. So it's under. Yeah, and so my subscribers went below the monetized number, so I got demonetized. Not that I had like made any money or anything, but I was monetized and I was a partner. And if I had worked at it, I probably would have actually made money. But right at the time when that was about to happen, I got invited to do a radio show in Salem. They wanted me to go be like a regular once a week on a Salem uh, like radio program, and that would have been really cool. But yeah, I got totally like blasphemed as like an evil witchcraft, horrible, murderous demon lady, and like it became a whole, witch hunt. Literally, yeah, pretty funny. But that's what happens when you in those terrible, abusive, cult-like things and relationships like that want to suck the life and control everything and say, you believe this because I say so. Like, that doesn't work. You can't force somebody to believe anything. They have to believe it because they trust in what you're saying, some reason that they would trust you telling the truth. So you have to be a good person that they love and trust, which doesn't usually come from people saying, you're going to do this because I said so. Like I don't know, people don't always get my parenting, like why I talk to my children openly and honestly. They never can understand that. I get like so much shit for communicating and being honest. Like if my children ask me an honest question, then they want the answer. I'm not gonna have them go like where on the internet or ask their friends. Like if they're asking, then they need an answer that's true and honest, and yeah, and then they will trust me and believe me because what I say is true. Like I never get how people just lie and lie and lie and lie and lie and lie, and they like don't get why like their shit goes sour one day. Like how do they keep up with their lies forever? I never have to worry about anything like that because I never lie. So everything I say, I don't have to like remember what I said because it's always gonna be the same shit. My life is the same. I don't have secrets. I don't have like, people hate that. They like want. They're like, there's gotta be a secret after all this time. Like we're gonna find it finally. We know it. Like I just don't have them. Like they send those emails that say, we know all your secrets. We have those photos you put online that no one knew. And people are like, oh my God. There's like a whole movie about it. Like these guys get blackmailed and stuff. But like we saw what you did on with the camera. The camera on your phone was on, and we saw you with that secret thing you did, and they're like, oh no, like those never work with me because I literally don't have any secret photos or secret anything. I don't do any secret things. Everything I do, people know, the bad, the good, the ugly. My worst moments have all been like documented on YouTube probably, or some sort of video I made of myself and without being aware I was videoing myself, because that did happen recently. But thankfully people thought I was making a political statement or something, I guess. But it wasn't, it was just an accidental video that I had no idea I was making. But yeah, so you gotta just make those connections with spirit. It doesn't have to be your ancestors either. There's all kinds of connections that can teach you the inner mysteries. Like there's the fairy doors, there's the trees, certain types of trees. There is connecting with plant lore. I have a whole book on that. You can learn and connect with those spirits of the plants, and they can actually teach you things. I've connected with trees really well, but I've never really had the plant thing. I think that more delved a lot into psychedelics, which that I don't know. I've never, I haven't gone there yet, but I am interested in possibly, if I ever get the chance to go to the Amazon. I've heard like really crazy, amazing things about ayahuasca. For somebody like me who has a huge trauma past, like so many multiplicities of trauma from birth on, like illnesses, like just all these crazy things happening that I don't quite have all the memory enough to unlock everything about these events and onward. But and then the things done wrong to my physical body after I got hit by a car and had health problems and things, and to undo all the damage done by medicine and interventions of doctors into my body, that above all else ruined my whole being, because I was like health lady. I never put anything in my body that was not 100% pure natural stuff. I ate salad dry, never used anything to cook my food. I like steamed vegetables and steamed fish. That's it. Like pure water. Jogged 6 miles a day, every day, like crazy. And then let a few doctors intervene after having that horrible SUV hit me, and that was the end of me. Did a number. So you gotta undo the toxic world, because medical people now, it's not the same as when people desired to learn the science of medicine to heal. It's not about healing anymore. It's about the money. Make the money, make it be profitable for the insurance companies and the hospitals. They want to keep you coming, not heal you. They want you to stay just sick enough to keep coming back. Yeah, and keep them in business. It's weird. Like, you'd think with all the medical advancements, there'd be less sick people. But there's just more and more and more sickness. Nobody's like putting it together. Like the pieces of the puzzle are all like screaming, like neon signs, like the world's not getting better and more advanced. It's getting way fucked up, people. Like way. Way sicker and more like fucked up. That being said, there is a lot of really fucked up shit that happens in my town now at night, and it's fucking crazy. That's a whole conspiracy, like, thing of itself that has nothing to do with witchcraft, but it's pretty fucked up, and I've fucked with it because I can't leave it alone. I have to go mess with, because they're messing with like the animals nesting and everything, and it really pisses me off. And so I had to go fuck with it and fucking piss these people who are doing crazy, weird. I don't know what, but we have like army reserves that are near here, so I think that they're doing some kind of military practice for some crazy fucked up shit. But it wasn't, it was just like too in your face and like wrecking animals around the area, and it was pissing me off because all the possums were gone, and that meant ticks and spiders everywhere, which I don't appreciate because then the dog brings them in here, and I hate spiders anyway. Like, there were no bugs for the first 2 years. Lots of raccoons, lots of possums. I would go out and play with them. That was my joy in life. And this whole year, I haven't found one fucking living animal in the whole town from spring till now. I have searched high and low, day and night, for one living animal that I could find, and I have not as of yet. And that's fucking freaking me out because there's nothing. And the crickets are not, like, you know how you can tell the temperature if you uh, count the number of chirps that a cricket makes, and you count it over, I believe, 15 seconds or 30 seconds, and then you add, I forget how much, it tells you the accurate temperature. I did this experiment with my daughter in science, and then I realized the crickets were really fucked up sounding this whole summer, and I went out there because they're supposed to like stop making noise when you go close to them, not start when you get close. The whole point is that they're calling to other crickets in the first place. Oh, I pulled one of those crickets out of the ground. There were like little wires attached. It was really messed up. It was like alerting somebody that someone's walking by, and the crickets would start. It was, what the fuck, like fake sounding crickets. But no one else but me would ever notice that the crickets are not normal crickets. They don't act like that. That's not how crickets act. I am noticing crickets are supposed to stop making noise when I go close, not start flipping out when I'm walking down the street. Every time I come near them, they start. Nah. And then the weird bird calls would start. That was the other thing because they noticed I was pulling out the cricket whatever things. It just got out of control. These people hate me now and probably have me on a watch list of some sort, I'm sure. Especially because one day I did the Tibetan singing bowl. You guys know how loud that is if you've ever heard or have one. Well, I decided to go out secretly one night in the pitch dark, and I started doing the freaking thing so loudly. Oh my god, it was awesome. It was so funny. There was like walkie-talkies going nuts, and people like cars started driving all. They didn't know where the sound was coming from, who was doing it. It was like they were like flipping. But then I tried to pull it another time because I thought it was so funny. I wanted to do it again. And I got caught one time. They saw me. But, yeah. I know everything is totally about money. That's all the world cares about. Thankfully, I apparently have no desire to earn money. I just give all my shit away for free. People are always like, why are you always giving all your stuff away? I'm like, I don't know. It makes me happy, I guess, to know that it's going somewhere where it will be loved or appreciated. That's the important thing. The reward is in the process itself, and I think eventually, especially if I read my whole natal chart, that's another interesting thing. John was recently, Faith, John did his natal chart. Yours is done. I have yours all mapped out in the book that I have. I have this astrology for yourself workbook, and you can calculate the time you were born and the place, and it shows you your astrological chart. So at the moment you're born, the lights from all the planetary luminary bodies stamps on your life different things that will apply to you, like your personality, how your love area will be. Like there's 12 houses of the zodiac, and like your sun sign is like, I'm an Aquarius, you're whatever. That's just one aspect. That's like the face that the world sees of you. Then there's your moon sign, which is the inner hidden part of yourself, your personality. There's all kinds of things. Then, like I have a bunch of retrogrades, and so I got a double portion in the section of trials and suffering. So didn't just get regular trials and suffering stuff. I got double of that, and I got double fuckedness in the category of family and marriage and that stuff. So lovely. But yeah, there can be different like comets and things that appear in different at your moment of birth. Some planets move long. Like apparently, the beginning of my life is really fucked. Like the whole beginning, more than the first half. But apparently, in my later years, is when I finally like have success in some manner. Apparently, I did see it all in a dream. Apparently, when I was like 17 or 18 years old, and I wrote it in my journal. And I just found it recently because I never thought to read this boring journal from like when I'm a kid. And I dreamt my whole future, and I saw it in this dream and wrote it down like a nightmare. And I read it recently, and I'm like, holy crap! I literally saw everything that was going to happen, and I just like thought it was a nightmare. It was like my whole. I was like, oh my god! I literally saw the whole entire life play out. And my little daughter, I saw on the top of the mountain. Like she pulled the little brick out, and the whole thing down. So crazy. And then there I was, seeing myself as an older person. Like I was young. I was like 18. And I'm like, ew! I had these gross clothes on, and I looked so old and ugly. Why would I wear such yucky, horrible clothes? That's all I could think of. Watching myself be interviewed on TV, and I'm like criticizing myself for like my ugly clothes. If I saw me now, I'd be like, oh my god, is that me? I'm gonna kill myself. That's the old me. Yeah, the non-witchy, like disconnected. I want to be just perfect for the world, girl. And then she unplugged. Yes, Faith, I'm gonna send you. I have to put. Oh, and I went and got all my childhood like awesome strawberry shortcake kids from like the 80s. I had my strawberry patch kids, and like check this out, guys. All my 80s stuff I brought here. Check this out, everybody. This is a monkey, and it can pick its nose, and it can like suck its thumb and pick its nose. Yeah. It has like little fingers that he can stick up his nose. And I have strawberry shortcake that's Huckleberry Finn. And I have, let's see, Popples. Oh. And I have a whole suitcase over here of my terrifying, terrifying dolls that haunted me as a child because when I was sleeping, I swore that they would wake up and torment me. And here they all are. Yes. Each one is from a different country. And their eyes, oh, that one doesn't actually blink her eyes. But this is one of the crazier ones. She has a twin sister that's good, and this is the evil twin. See her eyes? Yes. And her nice little, see, there's like one good one and then the other one. This one's the little Dutch girl. She's a good one. But yeah, I have a bunch of creepy ones that would like torment the other ones, and I would be so scared, and I'd wait all night. I'd have my eyes closed, and then I'd try to like open my eyes and catch them when they were doing stuff. See, there's the good sister. The other one has her hair all fucked up and wrecked. So I locked them in the suitcase so they can't get me. Oh, too late. They got me. Just kidding. Okay, and I have Gonzo, remember him? And Snoopy. I also have my sticker book collections. I brought all those here. So now my house that I cleaned out and got rid of clutter is recluttered with all my childhood toys. Great idea, huh? My limited apartment space. Okay. Please. Oh wow. Look at these all. I have yeah, Faith. I'll send you, I don't know, like there's multiple pages of yours and you have to know how to like interpret. Oh wait, this one has a bunch of yours, Faith. Actually, I should probably send it on my phone and take a picture, but it's got a lot of stuff. But you have to have the book, so you, or you could probably look it up online anyway and see what they all mean. But you just look up your online. You go to birth natal chart and you just type in your information, the date and time you were born, and where. So you would type in Melrose, Mass, and you can calculate it, and it literally will pull up every detail of your life and it reads it for you. So you don't really need the book or my information. You just go to anything, you look up online, birth natal chart, and they have charts that'll calculate for you, and they'll literally tell you your whole thing. So that's, John did it that way because it's much easier than actually doing it out in a notebook yourself, because the internet does it all for you. But not me. I do it the hard way and do it the academic, like detailed way with all these little numbers and mathematical formulas and patterns and yeah, and angles, and not sure why I do things that way, the hard way, not the easy way. But hey, so I've been live chatting for almost 2 hours now, so I think I will sign off for now. Hopefully, I answered some of the question that people had about why and how to learn the practice of Italian witchcraft if you have nobody close enough to teach you. Oh, yeah, I have. The only thing I kept out of all of my lifelong belongings is my childhood toys and all my kids' special things from their lives. Every paper that my kids have ever drawn or made from their lives, I have all that. All the photographs I've ever had and cherished. All the cards everybody's ever given me from birth on. And all of my books, because I'm a book whore. I can't get rid of books. I have books that I have from 1930 from a library somebody checked out, and I have it. I can't get rid of it. I have all my grandparents' books. I have like so many books, like bins and bins. My whole basement storage area is laundry and books. Oh, like those huge 80-gallon tubs filled with nothing but millions of books. It's great. I love books. I love books, and all of my this is really crazy. Like people want to like ruin me or make sure I never make any money, but all my stuff that's like research, that's like really like towards like if I was going to be back in my profession and do like some really cool academic stuff that I got recognized for when I was about to go to graduate school, it's all handwritten. So the reason nobody was able to like ruin it or find it or try to claim anything off of it is because it's all in handwritten notebooks. like, like I still handwrite everything into notebooks the old school way. So that is going to be how, in the future, I probably will end up being successful someday. Because I still have everything I've written from a long, long time ago, and it's actually still pretty good. I'm surprised looking back and reading it recently, and I'm like, wow, I still believe exactly what I believed way back when I was like all those years ago, starting out. The same principles, the same values, the same things I strived for, I still do. So it's pretty cool. So now I have the experience and the strength and the trying of those things. Like you have to get tried through the fire. The fire will like get rid of all the garbage and you come out on the other side and what's left is like the gold. So hopefully that's how it works anyway. It's like they call it the baptism of the spirit or something. No, the being baptized with the fire of the Holy Ghost or something. It makes it sound like you're getting burned in hell, but it's not the same. It's like the Holy Spirit's giving you the fire because the Holy Spirit came down in like fire, like little blue flames, like the flames on the gas stove. So it's supposed to try you and you come forth clean on the other side. It's actually, it's like when the Native Americans use that practice, they put you under this it's like in the ground and it's like mud over you and they steam you if you're sick and all the illness, even cancers are supposed to like detoxify out of you. And it's amazing. They use just that steam, sweating, and heating. Sweat lodge, I think it's called. And it's very, very purges all kinds of stuff. And one of the wisest men I ever knew was diagnosed. They told him he had like 4 to 6 weeks to live, get his affairs in order. He was terminal, stage 4 cancer throughout his body, his blood. His heart was already failing, and he told God if he was able to miraculously, if God would lead him and help him to find a way to heal, and he said he would devote the rest of his life to uh, learning and studying and teaching others like about God and the Bible. And he did. He was miraculously healed. In the rest of his life, he wrote volumes. I have his volumes of written works, and they're just like profound. And that man gave me so much. I was always traumatized when pastors and priests and all these spiritual leaders would say, animals do not have souls, they don't go to heaven, and all that. And I would just, something troubled me. I knew it wasn't true. I'm like, there is no way. I know that they have souls and spirits. Like, there's no way. God wouldn't make them as our companions and then just like let them go to shit. That's really mean, and God isn't like that. And this old man who was just so diligent about deep study into every detail of scripture. And he just showed me and said, absolutely, there are souls and spirit and body in animals. The difference is they cannot verbally to communicate with God. We have to do that for them. If we want our specific little pet that died to be with us, we have to pray for them to be with us. And, God probably knows that we want them anyway, but that's the idea is that we have the ability to know and communicate personally, like in a language. Animals don't have the language skill, but they can communicate in the other ways through their spirit and their energy and all that, but they just don't have a verbal language like we do. But they have a soul and a spirit and a body like we do. So, and they're going to be in heaven because God is going to make a new creation with no shitheads in it. Yeah, I know. Isn't that like why? I mean, the whole point was God trumped everybody. Like, okay, like people who are gonna be shitty and like wanna like have something better. You already have it all made. You're already perfect and the glory of everything, and everyone thinks you're so awesome. But I think I want to rule the whole thing now. So God had to weed them all out. He couldn't make people not have free will. So to be a good and loving person is our will to do that, to want to do that. And so, I mean, this earth here is like kind of a testing ground to weed out all the shitty people, I guess. And everybody else will be totally rocking like an awesome place in heaven, I guess, if it's going to go back to the way it was before it got all fucked up. The animals ate plants when God made the world. They ate the meat of the herbs, it said. They ate the herbs and the things that grew. It wasn't until like we fell and had to come here that there was like killing and blood and all that. So yeah, the animals were cool and they were like not killing each other. There was no bloodshed. So that is something to be said as well. Very cool stuff. Very cool. And the things deep, deep in the center of the earth, the crystals and the things that people try to dig in and seek for money. Apparently, there's like so much of that that's just like everywhere to heal and cleanse and be like beautiful. Oh, it's just beautiful to go outside and see like the trees and sky and stuff. Just to disconnect from like internet and stuff. It's good when I'm doing this kind of stuff because it's like healthy, but there's a lot of like just crazy crap that just media trying to like ads in your face all day, and I hate that. I don't bring my phone when I walk anymore because the way they track every move, where you are, what you're doing, what you're looking at, where it's like insane. Like I don't know, it's just weird. I found out like just by accident about how every single app has like these tracker things, and people who know you, they can watch where you're going and where you are at what times. And I just like made my whole thing like no locating because it wasn't worth it to use MapQuest. That was the only thing I really used that I needed a locator on there, but it was really creepy. Like, how do people keep like knowing where I am every minute? At what time I was where? Like, why does anybody care? Like, who needs to watch where everybody is and what they're doing at like weird times? Who cares? Like, I don't do that. That's why it's weird to me when other people do that, because like my mind doesn't go there. I'm not worried about everybody else watching what they're doing and thinking. I'm like, don't you have anything about your own life to worry about without like worrying about what everybody else is doing, thinking, wearing, like watching? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I have so much more important, interesting, concerning, and like real things in which to occupy my time and mind. I have plenty without needing to worry about what people that don't like me are writing or thinking, or who gives a flying fork. Like that, entertaining it is putting that energy vibration to bring it. See, when people want to do spell work or ask me to do spell work, I keep saying, I'll do it, but then you're gonna go look and think again and like open it back. It's like they have to be ready to want to close off what they're asking you to close off. But sometimes they don't. They just reopen it again and again and again and again. So the person they think is like doing that they want to get rid of, they're bringing it to themselves without realizing they're opening that window and bringing it right back, bringing it. And like, it's like that aspect of, you know, this practice that can get like really tedious, because that's what people think it's about, is like they just want to make stuff be the way they want it. People just want to control and make everything just the way they want. They want to have everything they like the way they like it, and that's it. Like they don't care about anybody or anything else. It's all their world, and it's not. Our actions, our emotions, our feelings, our being affects other people, and their actions and emotions and the way they treat us and the way they live affects our existence. And they often have no clue how much they affect everything around them by polluting the whole world with their energy and their toxicity. And then they drain the people who are good and love and care about them. And, we as spiritual people need to say enough. We need to know how to cut our time, like, and end it. Because, it's really easy to get caught up and drained of everything if you're in any kind of a spiritual practice, because people will just suck everything out. So you have to, in order to be able to do any good and accomplish anything, you have to be able to know your own needs. And that's where I'm at right now, is trying to remember that, like remembering to eat, take care of my health, because if I don't have that, I'm not going to be around long enough to accomplish all the things that now I can finally do, because I'm free and can do it. I can study, or I can spend the rest of my life studying and doing whatever I want. I can go like walk around the world if I wanted to, as long as I can be healthy enough and able and know how to get negative people kind of out of the mix so they don't hold me back and suck me away and suck everything good that I'm trying to have around and fill my life with. I have really good goals and plans and hopes now for my family, and I know I can do it now, because if I did all the horrible traumatic stuff that I went through to get here, I know I have the brain capacity. I already proved that with all my stuff I did early in my 20s and got recognized right away. I got accepted to Tufts for a double medical PhD like program, and I was going to go to an Ivy League grad school PhD doctorate program with an MD too. Like if I could do that way back then, now with all the experience and strength I have, I can do a lot more and accomplish anything, if I can just get rid of like the baggage. Now it's the baggage. Just gotta cut the baggage off. Hey John, look at my awesome son, 17 years old, Faith's on the air. Say hi to Faith.
Hi Faith. Who else is on there?
Let's see, just Faith and Joyce.
What's Joyce?
She's one of my YouTube watchers for a long time.
What's good, Joyce?
And
shout out to Joyce.
This lady Willow was watching earlier, who's from Victoria, BC, up in Canada.
Two viewers.
Well, like they're long time watchers.
Faith is a long-term watcher.
Well, no, not Faith, but I didn't announce it. Oh, Faith's leaving though. She said hi, John. Joyce said hi.
Joyce is
yeah.
lit.
Yeah. I should probably announce my live stream.
Honestly, you should probably end your live stream.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I've been on here for 2 hours. Well, I didn't announce it.
How many people are watching at the beginning?
One.
That's it.
Yeah. People. But after.
You're like telling your life story for like.
No, but people watch it after. Like it gets saved.
Oh.
And so like people can watch it later. Yeah. That's why you just do it randomly. I just do it whenever, because like.
That's cool.
All right, I'm going to sign off for now, and maybe I will announce a time and start doing like regular live streams if I'm going to keep doing it this way. So let me know if you have any topic ideas, anybody. leave comments or send me a message or whatever. And it's so great. Thanks for watching. See you guys later. Bye. Blessed be.
You guys.